So yeah, um, Islam is the official religion in Tunisia, and 99% of Tunisian people is Islam. So there is another minority or another religion in Tunisia.
Hmm? In fact, there is other religions, and people who belong to that other religion are not banished or not banned from the exercise of their worship and the exercise of their religion, and this is because also there is in the constitution of Tunisia guarantee of religious liberty, liberty of the cult, liberty of religion, liberty of faith. But also in the new constitution of 2014, there is stress made on the liberty of conscience. So it is not only liberty of religion, but also liberty of conscience. So you know that
is it allowed for Tunisian Muslim to convert in another religion?
It is not allowed.
It is not
allowed. Until now, there is a situation when they recognize the liberty of conscience is recognized. So the state has not intervened in the question of conversion or other things. But we have not situation like in other countries when people have to explain or have to give account on their belief, religious belief on others. So this is important. What is important to know is that Tunisia is not a laic country. It's not a secular country, because the Article 1 of the Constitution states that Islam is the religion of state. So we are not in the kind of laic state as in France, for example, where we have the first article that is made separation clear and make a clear break-off between state and all religion. So state has to be neutral vis-a-vis toward religion. This is not the case of Tunisia. So some people say that if Tunisia is not a laic country, so it cannot be democracy. It's a kind of theocracy. And my answer to this is that it is not true. It's false, because we find many democracies in the world that are not laic. You can look, for example, to Great Britain, for example. It is not a laic state. We know that the Queen of Britain is also the head of Anglican Church. If we look, for example, to Norway, if you look to Finland, for example, they are not laic. There is, of course, an established religion, but there's not a problem in democracy. What is important in democracy, there should be constitutional protection of individual liberty and also, and mainly, liberty of conscience. If we have this kind of guarantee, we have a kind of protection of individual liberty, and we are not a theocratic state, we are in the modern state.
Yeah, we just always hear the praying call in Indonesia. I think, how about the condition in Tunisia? Because we just hear the call of praying. I think it's also maybe a nice information or nice thing to know what happens in Tunisia. Like, do the government, do the state rule how people of Tunisia do their religious ritual or religious things? Like, do they need some permissions maybe to build some mosque or anything, or do the state also rule Tunisian people to pray. Like you don't have to do this kind of rituals or etc.
Yes. It's obvious that because Islam is the religion of state, so the state has great responsibility to the ruling of religious affairs. So we have in Tunisia a Ministry of Religious Affairs.
Okay.
This is important. So all mosque and place of worship are under the ruling and the direction of Ministry of Religious Affairs.
Yeah.
So this is important. Why? Because individual person, private person, cannot build mosque and cannot call for or recruit imams and other persons who make the worship and make the prayer and other things. So we have this kind of control by the state of the ritual and or religious thing, because it's considered also as a matter of public order. So public order. So the state built mosque, and individual person, a private person, if they like to build or to contribute, they have to give money to the state or the project that has been validated and accepted by the state in some area, in some condition, and after that the ruling and the organization, all of this organization of ritual and who pay the wages of imams and other, it is the state, it is the Ministry of Religious Affairs.
But it's also the same case with the minority religion, like Jews or Christian, when they want to build some church, are they allowed?
Is there a contribution from the state to this construction of this building? The problem has not been raised until now. Why? Because Christian and Christian, there is Catholic Church. There is people who are Christian and who belong to the Catholic Church, but there is also Evangelist and Protestant Church, and you know all these institutions are wealthy and they have a lot of money to construct and to extend. But at this time, I don't know if there is a kind of construction of a building of a new church and others, because they are small minority. For Jews, also there is many fund to institution, synagogue and others, and we have a minority of Jews or in the south, the east of Tunisia, the south of Tunisia, in a small town that is Djerba, and this is the town when we find an important minority of Jews, and the incumbent government, we find the Minister of Tourism, who is Jewish, and who belongs to this region, this city, Djerba. So there is also in Tunisia the great old synagogue. It has been built in the 4th century before Christian era, and just after the destruction, the first destruction of the temple by the temple of Jerusalem by Nasr Nakhubakh, the king of Babylon, of the Assyrian Empire, and after that they spread in all the world, and they come to Tunisia and they construct that. And there is a pilgrim organized each year by Jews to come to Ghriba, to visit Ghriba in Tunisia.
Yeah, how the state protect these minority groups? Is there any problems between minority and majority in Tunisia?
There is some problem, but there are not overwhelming problem. And there is a kind of social tolerance and acceptance. The only problem between Tunisia and Jews is the problem of Palestine, as you know.
I see. Yeah.
Palestine, Israel, the politics of Israel against Palestinian people, and all Tunisian people, as all Arabic people, feel themselves as solidar, as supporter of Palestinian cause and Palestinian struggle for their right and for their right to live as people with dignity in sovereign and independent state, rights that are guaranteed by international law, international resolution.
Yeah. About these Palestinian issues, it becomes, of course, international issue. Another international news, like rise up in also in Indonesia, we have heard that, for example, in Tunisia they ban niqab. Is that true?
This is not true.
That's not true. That's nice.
That's not true.
Nice information. That's important. Yes.
Yes, that's not true. There has been debate and contention and controversy in Tunisia recently about this issue. And what triggered this controversy, this debate, is the circular from the government, from the president of government, about niqab. It was not a ban of niqab. It was only, and I rely on the declaration of the Minister for Civil Society and Constitutional Affairs. He has declared that the governmental circular doesn't ban the wearing of the niqab inside the administration and public institution, but only call for unveiling the face before the entry in public services and institutions.
Okay.
So it is not a ban of niqab. Let me remind you that in Tunisia we are in the rule of state. So if kind of this decision has been made by a circular, there will be a case before tribunal court, and this kind of decision will be debated, will be dismissed, and so this is why the government try to avoid these things.
Okay.
But there is a suggestion, and it is a requirement from government, from other associations in civil society, who require that there should be a law to ban the niqab. So there is a kind of call for the banning of niqab. Okay. But on the other side, there is people, conservative people, who claim the right to women who wear the niqab, and to live in accordance with their belief and their conception of life, their conception of religion. Yeah. So, religious liberty are respected until now.
And how about the polygamy issues? Is it banned or doesn't true, or because it just looks like a kind of joking sometimes, like, okay, if we want to do some polygamous, let's go to Tunisia. That's what people joke.
Let's go to Tunisia.
Yeah, because in Tunisia we can do the polygamy, but does Tunisia state banned also the polygamy, or it is forbidden to Tunisian?
Yes, of course, it is forbidden. You know that in
because in Islam, it is allowed.
It is allowed. It is allowed by the effect of this verse in the Surah of Women, and it is, if you fear that you will not deal justly with the orphan girls, then marry those that please you of other women, 2 or 3 or 4. But if you fear that you will not be just, then marry only one of those your right hand possesses. So this is the reference of the main argument for polygamy. But what we don't see in this verse is that God say to Muslims that it may be the case that you will not be just. So you should marry one, only one. So let me remind you that just after the independence, there has been a great revolution, modernization of Tunisia. It is the promulgation of the personal code status, and this personal code status forbid to Tunisian to marry more than one woman. So only one woman. And there has been also a great debate between Muslim scholars, or called fuqaha, or called also ulama, or we call also shuyukh, about if this decision is genuinely Muslim or it is in contradiction or contrast Islam. And there is, on the one hand, scholars who said that it is against the spirit of Islam, it against the holy text. And there is, on the other hand, other scholars who supported and backed this decision because it is in line with the spirit of Islam. So they relied on this part of this verse when there is emphasis on the impossibility to be just. So we have to marry only one. This is why polygamy has been banned in Tunisia just after the independence. So this decision is good. The second step has been very important. It is the mandatory teaching and mandatory education for all people, girls and boys. And this is why the generalization of public education, mandatory education, has opened the way for Tunisian women to take part actively in social life and to be free from traditional and social ties and constraint that they already suffered. And it is this is why we call the first president of United States, Habib Bourguiba, the first president of Tunisia, Habib Bourguiba, as the man who has freed women and who is the liberator of women. So, and in his discourse, he usually emphasized the fact that the first liberation, it was the liberation from France, from the colonization of France, but the second liberation, it is the liberation of women of Tunisia. So this is important, yes. The ban of polygamy is a kind of revolution, social revolution in Tunisia, which is also a great step on the path of modernization and emancipation of all the peoples, not only men. And after that, we realize the great development that has been made possible by this decision, even if this decision has not been taken democratically, but in the kind of authoritative decision. It was the charisma and the popularity of the first president of Tunisia that has played a great role in this decision. But after that, society has interiorized it and integrated this decision, so you cannot find in Tunisia. It is hard to find in Tunisia. I know there is some conservative, some religious women who will answer you, yes, I'm not against that my husband get another woman, another wife.
Yeah.
But in the majority, there is majority of girls, women are against polygamy. They don't accept polygamy, but they are fighting to the extension of other right of women. But let me remind you that in Tunisian constitution, there is the Article 21 who states this: all citizens, male and female, have equal rights and duties and are equal before the law without any discrimination. The state guarantees freedom and individual and collective rights to all citizens and assure all citizens the condition for a dignified life. Relying on this article, many feminist women, or defender of right of women, claim the right to have equality in inheritance. So we have to remove the article in the chapter, the articles in chapter 9 of personal status code that state that woman or female has to inherit the half what inherit the men.
Yeah. And I've heard that if it is forbidden for example, for Tunisian men, for Tunisian women to marry another man who has different religion. It is forbidden for women, but it is okay for men if he marries with women from another religion. Is that the case?
This is the case. This is the case also in Tunisia, but it's the case in all Muslim countries. In Tunisia, there is in the code, in the personal status code, provision that says that marriage between two spouses can be validated if there is no legal impediment. But legal impediment was in the Arab version called Mounir Kchau, and many judges, when they stated on case like this, has understood and interpreted Sharia impediment as impediment that are specified by fiqh and by Sharia. So there cannot be any marriage between Muslim woman, Tunisian Muslim woman, and a person who may be Tunisian, but he's not Muslim. Like for example, Jews or Christians or other. And there has been also a circular in 1961 from the Minister of the Interior, the Secretary of Interior Ministry, who recommend to all person who has the right to write the contract of marriage to not accept to write to contract marriage for Muslim women with other religion.
Yes.
But at this moment there is great pressure from civil society and feminist movement to remove this and to change the law and this provision in the personal status code to allow all people the same rights. So also the right of Muslim women to marry other men who is not from her religion. But at this moment, Muslim Tunisian woman to get married with non-Muslim, she has to get abroad and to contract this marriage. And after this, there is problem also of recognition by the Tunisian law and other things. And there is a case when the right to inheritance, for example, has been contested by a member of families who say she's married with not non-Muslim, so she lived Islam, so she cannot inherit. It's a case. There is many important cases before tribunal, before court about this issue. It is a kind of injustice.
Yeah.
In my point of view, maybe other Muslim Tunisians will be against what I say, but this is the case.
Yeah. Well, very nice information and very important information that we got from Professor Mounir Kchau.
This is hard.
Yeah, it's really difficult to pronounce it. But yeah, one last question from me. I'm pretty sure that you already heard about Pancasila. What do you think about this ideology?
Thank you. Frankly, the first one what I heard about Pancasila is from you and from Mukhtasar.
That's it.
And then this is when we met at Germany in Festa, and spoke me about Pancasila. I'm really impressed by this. We may call this political theories, other political theories, and kind of national ideology. And since this moment, I try to gather information about Pancasila. I pronounce well.
Yes, Pancasila.
Okay, thank you. And I learned many things, and I discovered many things important. What is important is that this national ideology succeed in strengthening the national unity of peoples and to deepen value of tolerance, pluralism, and this is the first one when I visit Indonesia, and when we went to the Bali, for example, I witnessed the example of this tolerance. So it is important. When we visit, for example, Borobudur, when we visited the Hindu temples in Yogyakarta, we see this tolerance, this acceptation of others, and this kind of relativization of our conviction, maybe religious or other things. This is important. This is why Pancasila has succeeded in this enterprise, in this to establish, to lay the ground of a kind of tolerance and acceptance of others. But I see like all political theory, like all ideology, they have to be updated from one time or another. So, what I think that this is the case for example in Tunisia. Tunisia, after the independence, is a kind of political thought toward overwhelming toward subject of consensus between all peoples. It is about national unity, national building. This is the influence also of a leading figure in the national building in Tunisia in the period of decolonization, Habib Bourguiba, the first president. But now, look to what you call in France le droit d'inventaire, the right to make kind of re-examination and lectures and criticize all of this aspect. So I think that this update is important to our ideology, the Pancasila. Why? I think that we are in other period of time when we have to think about problem and question that are not necessarily linked to the problem of specificity of national liberation movement. So we have to develop and to carry out other idea, other conception that make change in society and that can make society more inclusive and can liberate or free the potential that is in young people and the youth, and to make this progress possible as possible, as fair, as just as possible. So we have also to think about this question. My point of view, I have to break off with the culture of national liberation movement, because national liberation movement belongs to the period of time of 15th and the mid of 16th, but after that we started to be involved in other kind of question of problems. So there is the globalization. It is another reality than the reality of imperialism and the reality of colonization and the reality of the struggle against colonization. In globalization, there is change of criteria of norm, and all of the people in the world want to be integrated to the inside this process of globalization and not outside. So how they can get profit from this and to take advantage from globalization. So I think that also Pancasila has to be updated in this perspective.
Sure.
This is my point of view as observer.
Yes, that's also important to see how people from another part of the world see this national ideology. So yeah, I think thank you. I have to say thank you very much for your visit to Indonesia, and especially thank you very much for your time coming to the Center for Pancasila Studies, Professor Mounir. And I hope this is not your last visit to our country, because you have to discover more Indonesia, not only Yogyakarta and Bali, to see how Indonesian people live in tolerance. So yeah, I think I'll see you in another Bincang Pancasila. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much.
Thank you.